I used to believe that a crowded mind was a sign of ambition, that constant thinking meant I was moving forward, that the pressure in my chest was proof I cared enough. And I wore that tension like a badge because everyone around me said the same thing, that rest is laziness, silence is weakness, and stillness is a luxury for people who already made it. But the truth crept in quietly, late at night, when the screen went dark and the thoughts stayed bright, looping old regrets, replaying conversations, forecasting disasters that never happened. And I began to notice something unsettling, that all this thinking wasn't building my life, it was consuming it. I was reading more, watching more, saving quotes, stacking ideas like bricks, yet nothing solid was forming. And the more I filled my mind, the heavier I felt, like carrying water in my hands instead of a vessel, always leaking, always tired. And the world praised that exhaustion, calling it grind, calling it hunger, calling it success in progress. But inside, I felt spiritually dehydrated, busy yet barren, informed yet directionless. And that contradiction is where many lives quietly stall. Faith didn't disappear overnight, it got crowded out, pushed to the margins by urgency, by the unspoken fear that if I slowed down, I would fall behind. And so I kept going, chasing clarity with more input, hoping the next video, the next book, the next voice would finally unlock peace, not realizing that peace doesn't arrive through accumulation, it arrives through alignment, and alignment requires space. The noise felt productive, but it was defensive, a shield against sitting with myself long enough to hear what God had already been whispering. And the whisper was simple, unsettling, and deeply inconvenient. Stop filling, start emptying. Emptying the mind sounds passive, almost irresponsible, especially in a culture addicted to motion. But it takes more courage to be quiet than to be busy, because silence removes the props, it exposes motives, and it forces you to confront whether your effort is obedience or escape. And when I finally allowed myself to slow down, the first thing I felt wasn't peace, it was discomfort. Without constant stimulation, unresolved fears surfaced. Questions I had avoided stood up straight, and I realized how much of my productivity had been fueled by anxiety disguised as ambition. But here's the paradox. Anxiety thrives in clutter and starves in clarity. And clarity only comes when you stop negotiating with the noise. I began setting small boundaries, not dramatic retreats, just intentional gaps. Moments where no content played, no notifications buzzed, no opinions entered. And in those gaps, something unexpected happened. My thoughts stopped racing and started lining up, like soldiers finally hearing a clear command. And in that order, I sensed God not as an abstract idea, but as a stabilizing presence, steady, patient, and unhurried. Scripture took on a different texture, less like motivation and more like instruction, less like comfort and more like direction. And I understood something fundamental. God doesn't shout over chaos. He waits for stillness, not because he lacks power, but because order is his language, and a noisy mind simply isn't fluent. There's a dangerous myth that intensity equals progress, but intensity without alignment is just friction. It burns energy without producing movement. And many people confuse feeling busy with being effective, mistaking exhaustion for evidence of purpose. But purpose doesn't drain you, it organizes you. As my mind cleared, my actions simplified. Fewer goals, clearer priorities, stronger boundaries. And the surprising result was momentum without panic, progress without pressure, and a calm determination that didn't need validation. And that's when work changed from striving to stewardship. Opportunities didn't multiply overnight, but discernment did, and discernment is the real accelerator because it tells you not only what to pursue, but what to refuse. And refusal is often the most spiritual decision you can make, especially in a world that celebrates endless yeses. I stopped chasing every open door and started asking a better question. Not can I do this, but am I called to do this now? And that question filtered distractions more effectively than any productivity system, because it anchored decisions in obedience rather than ego. Prosperity, in its truest form, isn't hunted, it's attracted by order, by consistency, by trustworthiness over time. And when the mind is empty of noise, it becomes full of signal. Patterns emerge, strategies refine, and patience replaces impulse. I noticed that financial growth followed the same principle as spiritual growth. Both resist shortcuts, both reward faithfulness, and both collapse under the weight of impatience. And so, instead of demanding immediate results, I focused on building systems that honored God and served people, trusting that provision follows purpose when purpose is genuine. This shift changes how you view money. Not as proof of worth, but as a tool of stewardship. Not as an idol, but as evidence of alignment between value created and value received. And in that framework, ambition becomes service, not self-worship. The mind, once emptied of comparison and hurry, becomes capable of long vision. And long vision is rare, valuable, and quietly powerful, because it sees beyond trends and builds beyond applause. If any part of this resonated, it's not because the words are special, it's because your mind already knows the cost of constant noise, and your spirit recognizes the relief of order. And here's the gentle challenge. Don't rush to fill the silence after this ends. Let it linger, let it work. If this perspective brought clarity, a simple way to honor it is to support the space that made it possible. Leave a like, not out of habit, but as a signal that this kind of content matters. Subscribe if you're ready for fewer words with more weight. And if you feel led, leave a comment sharing what kind of clarity you're seeking or what noise you're ready to release next. And before you go, there's one message that pairs with this moment like a continuation of the same conversation. A reminder for when the quiet gets difficult and doubt tries to rush back in. The video titled, "Don't Quit Now. God Finishes What He Starts." Because emptiness creates space, but perseverance fills it with purpose. Stay steady, stay aligned, and remember, this was only the beginning.